Hello everybody, Vulcan here, and today I just want to talk very briefly about the new World of Remnant episode that came out today. Now, this video is going to be very short because the episode doesn't really say anything new or anything that we didn't already know about from previous episodes via outright statements or things that weren't strongly implied. The episode generally covers how the Great War began, what it was actually about, and also further back how humans came to fear the Faunus and how they were hunted down and discriminated against. One of the things that I found very curious was how Crow mentions that the Faunus have been around for at least as long as humans, if not longer. Now, initially I suspected that Faunus were a result of a particular kind of mutation in the human genetic code, but apparently it could be that in fact, it is the humans that are a mutation of the Faunus. So that's very interesting considering how humans now consider themselves the superior beings, at least among those who still discriminate against the Faunus, such as the Schnee family, with the exception of Weiss and Winter, I guess. One of the other things that I was also very interested in was what would happen if two different types of Faunus got together. The episode brings up the example of a bull and a wolf type Faunus. Now, with regards to offspring, things that were already obvious from the beginning was what would happen if a human and a Faunus got together. The offspring would be of the same type of Faunus as the parent, and if two of the same type of Faunus, two wolf Faunuses, for example, were to get together and have a child, the result would be a wolf type Faunus. But when it comes to two different types of Faunuses, the end result would be something completely random. And Crow even says that between a bull and a wolf type Faunus, the offspring could end up being a snake type Faunus. So that's really interesting. Now, I say interesting, but it also doesn't really make sense. And Crow himself says that from a scientific standpoint, there is still a lot of questions with regards to Faunus, what they are, and how their genetic code works and everything like that. The way I always thought it would work between two different types of Faunus was that the offspring would inherit either one or the other of the parent's traits, as opposed to something completely random. Now, I suppose it makes sense that it would be random, considering that Faunus are kind of the same race, so to speak, regardless of what type of traits they have. In any case, Crow's mentioning of snake type Faunuses and also lizard type Faunuses earlier in the episode makes me think about whether or not we'll actually get to see them, because so far in the series we've never seen them. We've only ever seen mammal type Faunuses like cat Faunuses, bulls, wolves, if you count the Assassin's Creed bros in the opening. There's also Adam. Well, he's a bull type Faunus as well. And one thing that's also interesting, that would be interesting to see if there is a bird type Faunus. Just imagine seeing a human with a beak. I mean, we've already seen humans with tusks. Now, there was that one girl who was a student at Beacon Academy with tusks like an elephant protruding from her neck. And I'm kind of thinking, how is a guy, or a girl I guess, how is one supposed to kiss her without getting stabbed in the neck? That's kind of interesting. And also, one of the things that Crow mentions in the episode is that he saw a lizard-type Faunus regrow their tail from scratch. Now, that also raises the question of whether or not lizard-type Faunuses like that are also able to regrow their human limbs. Like, if they lose an arm or a leg, for example, would they be able to grow them back? Now, if that's the case, that would have been very useful for Yang, wouldn't it? So, yeah, those are things that really caught my eye. And the other thing that I suppose also really makes sense, that should have been obvious when Menagerie was first mentioned in episode 3, was that the more violent factions of the White Fang were born in Menagerie. Whether or not the White Fang in its more peaceful form existed before Menagerie is up for grabs. It's possible that it wasn't, because the episode doesn't say anything about the violent faction of the White Fang being born there. But the fact that when Crow mentions how you put a whole group together and it's not very hard for them to become very organized, and then you see the symbol of the White Fang with the scratch marks on it, which is the symbol of the White Fang as it is now, as opposed to the way it was before. To me, that implied that the violent version of the White Fang, the one that Adam is the leader of now, was born after Menagerie, whereas White Fang existed before Menagerie, before even the Great War. With that being said, I think that the reason the White Fang became as violent as it is because when they won their continent, Menagerie, a lot of people, and Crow even says a lot of people saw it for what it was, a slap in the face by the sore losers, by the nations who were sore losers. A lot of the faunists interpreted that as a slight on their part because they were being isolated from the rest of the world and they were being segregated. Of course, it makes sense that a lot of people would feel resentment as a result of that, and that's what eventually gave birth to the White Fang that we know today, the one that Adam is a leader of, and the one that Blake eventually fought for. So my question is, since it was born in Menagerie, on top of that, what are Blake's parents' involvement in that? Because we know that Blake has been involved with the White Fang since she was a child. She even said that she was at the front of every rally and always championing their causes. What about Blake's parents? Because Blake also eventually fought alongside Adam. So did Blake's parents fight for the White Fang as well? So one of the things I'm really happy about is that, considering Gray's post on Twitter and I think on Rooster Teeth, but it was definitely on Twitter, I'm very happy that the next episode will be focusing a lot more on Blake and we'll finally get to see her parents. And more importantly, we'll actually find out whether Blake's mom is indeed named Opal. Because, I mean, come on, the resemblance between Blake's mom and Opal Beifong is just too uncanny. I mean, if you look at them side by side, it's way too evident. And also, judging by the way she acts in the opening and from the screenshots, it's also possible that Blake's mom acts like Opal and not just simply looks like her. So that'll be fun. The other thing I'm hoping to see in the next episode as well is whether or not there's going to be any mention of the Assassin's Creed bros who appeared in the opening. Now, considering this is also again to do with the fact that the White Fang originated in Menagerie, and considering these guys appeared right after Adam appeared in the background of the opening, makes me think, as many people are also suspecting anyways, that these guys are pretty high up in the hierarchy of the White Fang. Who knows if we'll get a mention of them, if not even see them. Who knows? Because it could be that these guys have been tailing Blake and have been following her to Menagerie, and it could be that eventually they'll be holding Blake's parents hostage in order to get Blake back to Adam and fight for him. Or even hold son hostage. Who knows? A lot of things could happen. And considering that, again, the White Fang originated in Menagerie, who knows how many people are actually sympathizing with the White Fang, even as it is today. So that all of that is going to be fun. I'm really glad that episode 5 is going to be focusing on Blake because I really wanted to see what Menagerie was about. Normally, I don't actually comment on World of Remnant episodes, but I wanted to make an exception for this because there were quite a few things to say. This video turned out to be a little bit longer than I expected, all things considered. Longer than the episode itself, actually. Don't expect more of this, simply because a lot of World of Remnant episodes don't really show us anything new at all. The previous one only talked about bandits, but there was nothing in it that we couldn't already tell from what happened in episode 2. Jesus Christ. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Like the video if you did, subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you soon.